Hey, this is your friend Dave, and welcome to the Dreamers and Doers Podcast, asking you, are you a dreamer or are you a doer? But maybe you might have to consider being both. So today's episode is an interesting title for me because it was very hard for me to even come up with the title because, this is what the title is, and then I'll kind of explain to you how difficult it was for me to come up with the title. And it is Africa Through the Lens of Faith. Initially, I was actually going to call it Africa Through the Lens of Hope. I didn't want to use the word faith because when some people think of faith, they think of religion. But because of my worldview, I see faith not just religion. I see faith through the lens of what I know faith to be, and that is, I think the Bible says that faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if I had just used the word hope, I don't think it really captured what I was actually really wanting to say. So I used faith because faith is being sure of what you hope for. Faith is the certainty of what you hope for. All right. So I'm like, if I use the word hope, it's not really going to capture it for me. But faith really does, in a sense that, hey, seeing Africa through the lens of the certainty of the possibility of its prosperity. That is a mouthful. I don't even know what that means. But I think you might have an idea of what I'm trying to get at here. So yeah, Africa through the lens of faith. Now, before I actually kind of just dive into it, I want to do two things. I want to tell you one thing about me and what you are going to be receiving from me and what my worldview is. But also, I want to share with you what prompted me to share on this today, because I don't just come up with these randomly. And I know, we're here to chat, and you know that there is not going to be any cuts. If I make any mistakes here, there's not going to be any cuts. This is just me having a chat with you. So what made me think about this, but also what is my worldview, and I want to really hone in on what you're going to be getting from me, because you've seen from the first episode that I have a specific way that I see things, and it is not because of the books I read. It is not just because of how I grew up, but it's pretty much everything. And so what is a worldview? What is a worldview? And since we're on the topic of seeing Africa through the lens, all right? A worldview is pretty much a lens. And I want to tell you what my worldview is. But before I do that, I want to tell you what worldview is. I know I'm currently studying theology and all of that stuff. And I've done some study in the past as well. So, and every single course I've done, like one of the very first things that we learn and study is worldview, or biblical worldviews is the topic. But we really hone in on worldview and what is a worldview. And I think it's really important for us as Africans to really understand this word, worldview, especially in the world of influence, and where you're getting so much information from all over the place, whether it's from the West, the Middle East, from the East. You're getting so much information, especially in this internet era, especially social media and all of that. You're getting so much information. And one thing that you need to know is that every single person who gives you any information has a worldview. Now, I've listened to so many people. I've listened to so many influencers. I've listened to so many podcasts. I've listened to so many audiobooks from people in the past, Think and Grow Rich, and all of those self-help books. I've read biblical books. I've read I've listened to speeches and I've listened to so many different things, but each one of those people that I'm listening to, they are sharing whatever they're sharing from a specific worldview. Now, worldviews exist. It's just that we don't necessarily learn or study how worldviews are created. And one thing about worldviews is that a worldview is not just created from what you read, but it's created from every single thing that you consume, almost from the day that you were born. How you were raised creates your worldview. The things that you've learned, your experiences, the friends that you've had, every input that they've had onto you and your mind and your behavior created who you are, and you're gonna see the world through the lens of your worldview. And so when I'm gonna be sharing, especially for those who are part of our community, hey, by the way, if you're part of the ImagineX community, you are so welcome. I want to give you a special shout out. If you're part of our ImagineX community, you're very, very welcome. And it's so good to see you here. And also, hey, those in the diaspora, why didn't I do a welcome? But anyway, it's so good. Those who are in the diaspora, I welcome you to this podcast. And also, all my international friends, I welcome you to this podcast. Anyways, so where was I? Worldview. Every single thing that we consume, from the day that we were born till now, creates the worldview that we see the world through. So for me and everything that I'm about, you're going to understand very, very quickly that, I was born and raised in a Christian home. My dad's a pastor. I literally, grew up in ministry, grew up in church and church leadership. Most of my teenage years were literally being in that youth ministry world. I've been in church boards. I've ran a Christian organization. So pretty much my world has been from the lens and perspective of Christianity. So I've been, I've consumed a lot of, the word. I've consumed a lot of sermons every single week, all throughout the week. I'm consuming sermons. I'm learning so much. And so my worldview is through those lenses. And I want you to understand that simply because we're talking about lens, how you see things and how we're supposed to be seeing Africa. And so now, the reason why I use the word faith is because from my worldview, when it comes to how you see Africa, it doesn't end with hope. It doesn't end with hope, because we shouldn't just hope that everything goes great in Africa. We shouldn't just hope that everything turns around somehow. Maybe I hope the next president may be able to change things around. I hope maybe if the economy gets a bit better, I hope that maybe if the Chinese leave our continent, or maybe hope is not the full story. I don't know if anybody's getting me here. Hope is not the full story. The next stage of that is faith. And from my worldview, faith is being sure of what you hope for. Faith is the certainty That what I'm believing for my family, what I'm believing for my country, what I'm believing for myself and my hustle and everything that I'm working towards, whether it's for my organization, whether it's for my business, whether it's for my small hustle, whatever that I'm believing for is possible. It's the certainty that, it's the place that you get to where you're certain that this is going to happen for me. That this is going to happen for me. That's faith. That is faith. I want to tell you again, it shouldn't end with hope. The way you think about Africa, the way you think about your nation, the way you think about your business, the way you think about your life, it should not end with hope. There's an extra level, there's a next step, and that next step is faith. And it's the certainty, it's being sure, you're sure of what you hope for. And you're certain of what you do not see. And you don't even have to see it before you have faith for it. So seeing Africa through the lens of faith is pretty much saying, you know what? I'm no longer just going to hope that things shift in our nation. I'm going to believe that it will. With full certainty. And here's the thing about faith, and which I will get to on an extensive level. That is, when you get to a place of faith, you are actually it's a challenge. Faith is a challenge. Hope is lazy. Oh man. Hope is lazy. But faith is a challenge. Because there's no way you can truly have faith for something, but just sit around doing nothing. It's impossible. And I said before that my worldview, and the reason why I've used the word worldview is because I want you to understand that I'm going to be saying things that may seem like, oh yeah, this is just another Christian who's trying to, bring Jesus into all of this stuff. By the way, I actually believe that, the worldview or the lens in which Jesus saw the world, there's a whole completely different other story. It's absolutely amazing. It's full of hope. It's full of faith, and I really believe there's a reason why I'm stuck with this religion, the religion, so to speak, of Christianity is because there's just something to it. But anyways, that's not the episode for today. But I want to tell you that the language that I might be using may be Christianese in a sense, but you need to understand that when you jump from hope and you go to faith, you are required to do something. And my worldview says that faith without works is dead. Remember, this podcast is about dreamers and doers. Dreaming without doing is dead. Faith without works is dead, which means it is impossible. It is impossible to have faith and do nothing about it. It is impossible to have faith and do nothing about it. It is impossible to have faith and sit around doing nothing. Because faith requires you to be challenged, to get up and do something. Because you cannot say, hey, I am certain that this country is going to change, but you're going to just sit back. You are still in hope. Because hope is lazy. Hope sits back and says, oh, I hope things change. You're waiting for something outside of yourself. You're waiting for something outside of yourself to fix the problem. But faith challenges you and says, okay, you're certain, huh? You're certain that everything's going to be okay. But then faith says, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? That's what faith does. That's why I love faith so much. And by the way, the reason why I've called this podcast Dreamers and Doers is because there is something in our world that we call stirring faith. That's what I'm going to be doing every single episode. That's what I do with the seminars that we run. We stir faith. So I hope I've explained to you where my lens come from. And my lens come from my Christian worldview. I'm not going to be preaching Jesus to you, but I am going to be sharing things, and my worldview is going to really show. And I just wanted to let you know of that. And I did want to share with you the second thing that I mentioned earlier, and that is, how did I come up with today's title, and how did I get here? Like, why are we talking about seeing Africa through the lens of faith? I saw a video last week, a video of Gary Vee, Gary Vaynerchuk. I think Vaynerchuk. I don't know. I don't know. It's just Gary Vee. But I saw a video of him, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to play it to you in this episode. I saw a video of him talking about Africa, and I got so stirred. And I know it's like it's normal. You've probably heard stuff like that before. You've heard somebody in America from outside of Africa, hype you up about Africa and the potential of Africa. But I wanted to play it for you, and it was kind of like it ignited my heart and ignited something in me, because I'm like, these guys get it. They get it. So I'm going to play it for you. To really see, for you to really see that there is hope for Africa, and you need to start believing again. Okay, you need to start believing again. People are seeing Africa rise, and they see it. Gary Vee sees it. So let me play it to you, and then I'll comment on it, and we'll continue on this podcast. It's not playing. Okay. Let's put up the volume. That's a great idea, Dave. Where is the volume? Right there. All right, let's try that again.
Number 4 on my 2026 Trends Underpriced Opportunities. The rise and continued rise of the content of Africa. The numbers are staggering when you look at how much youth of our overall population in a decade will be in the content of Africa. When you're worldly enough to interact with many of the incredible young talent from these countries.
Absolutely.
When you understand that the way the world turns is every continent gets its time.
Every continent, wait. Let me pause here. Every continent gets its time. Every continent gets its time. That is a very interesting statement, Mr. Gary Vee.
From these countries, when you understand that the way the world turns is every continent gets its time.
Absolutely.
Many of us who are in my age group watched the rise of Asia and the rise of the Middle East.
Yep.
It is very clear that Africa as a continent is absolutely the big winner of the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Absolutely.
And for many of you watching, this should open up the aperture. Do you have relatives there and you're like, wait a minute, Gary, you're saying that I can actually grow my professional careers growth is actually from my grandparents and cousins that live in Kenya or Nigeria? I'm like, yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. The opportunity there is extraordinary, both doing business there and 2, understanding how amazing the raw firepower of the young talent is in that country from an intellect and hunger standpoint. Again, follow what I'm saying here, similar to what we saw in India in Japan and China and overall Asia and the Middle East over the last 25, 30, 40 years here in the West, in Europe and the US. So huge opportunities, the cultural impact. I don't have to tell anybody that follows music.
Yep.
We've already seen the early indications.
Absolutely.
Just like we saw Latin music massively impact the US over the last 25 years, we've already been seeing African music impact top hits in the US. African influencers, the culture, the food, the sport, and it goes both ways. Just like you're seeing manga and anime and Asian culture massively impact the West has massively, always, because of the Hollywood machine in America, impacted the East. The opportunity in Africa is very clear. You have to understand it. It's either direction. You're 23 and you want an adventure, and forget about even relatives. You're like a white boy in Kansas and you're like, I'm an entrepreneur. Wait, Gary's saying Africa? I'm saying Africa.
Absolutely.
So doing business, and obviously Africa's a massive continent. In fact, it's so much bigger than you think because it's misrepresented on the globe. And obviously every country has its geopolitical stuff, its entrepreneurial opportunities. Some are great, some are not great. Really no different than Europe or anywhere else. But
I want to point on that. Like, it's not any different from anywhere else. I mean, I live in Australia and I've been in the community services space. I've worked there. I've been a community manager for a community center, and I've seen poverty. I've seen corruption. I've seen so many different things in that space. And you need to realize that when you look at Africa, that's the first thing I feel like we need to understand, is that a narrative, just one narrative does not mean that the entire globe is like that. For example, in Australia, and I've had friends outside of Australia, and they've said, oh, I would never come to Australia. It's like, why? Because of the snakes, like the snakes and the spiders. Like, people tell me that, snakes are everywhere and spiders are everywhere. No, that's not true. Well, there are certain parts of Australia that is absolutely true, but I think the majority of Australia is amazing and safe. I would raise my kids here, absolutely. And that's the same thing that happens in Africa. There's a certain part of Africa, there might be corruption. By the way, there's corruption in every single country, including Australia, trust me. There's corruption, there's poverty and all of that. But it does not mean that 20% of whatever is going on in a certain part of the continent is really representing of what the entire of Africa is. All right. I want you to understand that, anywhere you go in the world, there is going to be poverty, including Australia and the US. Anywhere you go in the world, there's going to be corruption. Anywhere you go, that is the first thing that I want you to understand. That Africa's poverty is not unique to Africa. You need to understand that. Africa's poverty is not unique to Africa. There are many, many countries out there, and I'm not saying that, I know there's so many organizations who go over to Africa and help and whatnot, and those things are needed and they're appreciated. I'm not undermining the seriousness of poverty in Africa. I mean, I come from what is considered the world's poorest country, which is Burundi, apparently. I was born in that country. So I understand, and I've been to Burundi, and I know what that means. But Africa is bigger than that. There's a lot more amazing things happening in our continent than that. I'm not saying that, poverty is terrible. Poverty is a terrible thing. And I'm not saying that we should take our eyes off what happens in those spaces. No. We should definitely have our eyes on the fact that, there's poverty there, and we need to be able to figure out a way to help people and serve people. Absolutely. But we also need to understand in regards to seeing the rest of Africa, we need to see what is going well. And when you take your focus off the negativity and you see what is actually going well, it's not going to put you in a place where you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're not going to do anything about it. No. Seeing what's working gives you more faith to believe that it's possible. I'll give you an example, and I'll go back to Gary to finish off his little thing. I'll give you an example. I went to Burundi. Burundi is struggling when it comes to poverty and that regards. But then I went to Tanzania, which is literally next door. And when I got there, I felt like I was in the future. And what that did to me was stir faith to believe that if Tanzania could do it, Burundi can. If South Africa could do it, Burundi can. I don't know if that makes sense to you. So seeing the positivity, sorry, let me grab a water. Seeing what's good in our continent is actually a good thing. Being in tune and being informed of what is happening in our continent that is good, that is working, is a good thing because it stirs faith in us to believe that if it can happen there, it can happen here. That is why, for me, community is the big thing. That is why in everything that we'll be doing with ImagineX is gathering people, building community with people. Because, hey, in your business, there are certain things that are working more than they are not working. And so if you partner up with somebody else who's struggling, they're going to be able to give you an insight of what's working in their business. And you're going to be like, oh, man. So it is possible for me to get out of this. So it is possible for me to solve this issue. It is possible for me to go to this level. Absolutely. Let me tell you, my friend, let us be informed about what is working in our continent. Let us be informed about what is working with our next door neighboring countries. Let us be informed and let us see it. Let us read the news of the good stuff that's happening. The only issue is news cycles love to, tell negative stories of, what's not working. I think there was a statement that I heard, something about a plane. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to try to attempt. Maybe I should. Something about how, planes that land safely, they are never put on the news. It's only when something goes wrong. There's something to do with that. There's a better way, that it was supposed to be said. But anyways, it's the idea of, it's very rare to hear people talk about what's the good that's happening. And we need to make recording the positiveness of our continent a normal thing. Celebrating each other, celebrating our countries, celebrating what's working. You listen to a guy like Gary Vee and he's celebrating Africa for its impact, and it stirs faith in you. You're like, oh my goodness. So it is possible. So we're not going to be stuck with this forever. No, it's possible. Anyways, I don't know if that makes sense. Let me continue to play. Let me finish this off. And then I want to show you something else, because I don't want you to think that this was just him going on a rant, one time. But I'll play another video of him sharing it. This was in 2025. He shared this. In 2024, he said the same thing. I'll play it for you as well, but I'll finish this 2025 one.
Overall, the impact's enormous. The basketball culture, both the African Basketball League, but the talent coming, Nigeria's athletes starting to penetrate the NFL in a massive way. Do I believe that? Yes, I do. Does it take patience? Yes, it does. Is that how great businesses are sometimes built? For damn sure. Africa's impact, massive. Opportunities, massive in both directions.
Awesome. Africa is on the rise. Africa is on the rise. Oh, let me pause this. Oh my goodness. These ads. Oh my goodness. All right, anyways. So let me play the next video for you. I'll play the next video for you. This was in 2024. And I think you guys need to hear this because I don't want you to think that this was just a rant that he was on. By the way, I want to tell you a disclaimer. I don't endorse every single thing that Gary Vee stands for. This is not me endorsing him. This is me just trying to show you that outside of Africa, people are actually seeing what's about to happen. And I hope that can stir faith in you to say, oh my goodness, like the world is actually seeing that there is, Africa is about to rise. Absolutely. And I want that to stir faith in you, and I want you to start seeing Africa through the lens of faith and being like, you know what? I believe that something is able to happen. So let's play this for you. Oh, actually, it wasn't supposed to be from the start. I think it's from here. All right.
Listen, actually, let's talk about Africa for a second.
Yeah.
35% of the youth in the world in a decade is going to live in the continent.
Yeah.
Because
45% of the youth in the world. All right, let's keep playing. Yeah, that's a key point, by the way. That's the key point. The youthfulness of Africa is the key right there.
because of the way the globe and the map work, people don't realize how big Africa is. Absolutely. It's not actually properly sized.
Thank you. You saw that infographic, right?
I've known it.
Yeah.
I've known it since junior year of high school.
Yeah.
I just don't think people understand that much like the Middle East. Look, Dubai, what's going on in Saudi now. 25 years ago, when you talk to business people, I was in business.
Yeah.
I'm not a youngster anymore. When you brought up the Middle East, you had people being like, aren't they on camels?
I told you. I told you. The current narrative is, you know, think about Africa. Oh, isn't it just poverty? Aren't they just riding lions? But I'm telling you, in the next 20, 30 years, Africa's narrative is going to be completely different. The same way Dubai, when you think about the Middle East, the narrative has changed because of innovation, the impact that the Middle East has had in business and all that kind of stuff. So let's continue playing.
Like people are so silly, especially Americans. We're very insular. I love America, but we're pretty funny in our worldview. But the entire world's view on Africa is wildly underestimating.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rest of my professional career will be under an era of the rise of Africa as a continent, as a world business power.
And we're buying, because I worked in FMCG for the longest time, and I would have to go out and find sister markets like, say, South America. And I can say this now, it's a positive story. We were moving Johnny Walker as good as other markets,
100%.
you know? It's not like everyone, whether it's the Dusty Camels or it's out on safari. We have this thing about aspiration, Afro-optimism.
Oh, I'm
you
like,
know what I mean?
look, back to like looking at old videos. As I sit here in 2024 and say what I'm about to say, I will get great enjoyment watching this video in 2045. Africa, look, there's incredible things going on in the Middle East, especially in Saudi.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of geopolitics. I'm not going into politics. I'm talking business. I'm talking culture. I'm talking talent. It is so clear to me, clear as day, that Africa's day in the sun, in the world stage. You see it with music already.
Oh my God,
You
yes.
see it.
Yeah, we have playlists for
see
you
it.
guys, by the way. It's Amapiano versus Afrobeats.
It's absolutely, you see it. It's already happening. It's already clear. Just the sheer brain power. This becomes another thing that frustrates me. I don't think people understand the sheer talent, the sheer brilliance, the creativity. It's just going to be a great joy to watch Africa 2030 to 2050 take its proper stage on the world stage. And I'm excited about it. I as you know, behind the scenes, like I will be doing business in the market and I can't wait.
And no, thank you for saying that, because sometimes you need someone to echo it. We believe in ourselves. We are very confident, by the way. I'm just saying that, you know.
Yes.
But I feel like sometimes having advocates like yourself say
It's
it,
nice.
especially for the guys that are looking and watching this, right?
Of course.
And they're like, oh, okay. Can I tell you, that is why this black coffee one was so important. Because yeah, besides the fact that it was at Cannes, we were like, whoa, the fact that Black Coffee is understanding the conversation with you was so powerful, and you were sharing his story, it means that he sees value in you and he's unlocked you in our market.
100%.
So even it's me today, tomorrow I want my other peers to come and interview you, right?
Of course.
So yeah, that's
Thank you
about
for
it.
having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. There we go. Gary Vee said it. I'm not saying that if Gary Vee says it, that settles it. But here's the thing. If you say it, that settles it. The future of actually building Africa is not just on some guy saying that Africa is on the rise, but it's on you to believe that. It's on you to believe that, to say, hey, I'm going to jump from a place of hope to faith. Hope to faith. Lazy hope to doing faith. And that is pretty much what the answer is. And we need to start seeing Africa through the lens of faith and believing that something amazing is going to start happening. And that requires a challenge to you and I to say, we're not just going to sit here until we die. We're not just going to sit here and wait for something else outside of ourselves to happen. So my question to you is, how do you see Africa? Through which lens are you seeing Africa? Are you seeing Africa through the lens of despair? Are you seeing Africa through the lens of hopelessness? Are you seeing Africa through the lens of pity? Are you seeing Africa through the lens of hope, maybe one day? Are you seeing Africa through the lens of, you know what? Something amazing could happen. Faith. I'm believing for something to happen. What's your perspective? What is your perspective? Do you see just corruption, poverty, struggle? Or do you see the potential of youth? Do you see how creativity is creativity, innovation, and in the resilience of the young people rising up could possibly mean that something is about to happen? It's possible. It's possible. I am telling you, it is possible. And I'm sure of it. Again, I'll tell you. The moment I say that I'm sure of it, something straight away gives me that accountability to say, oh, okay, you're sure of it. What are you going to do? I really want you to start thinking about this word faith in a new light. And I know it takes the renewing of your mind for you to not see it as religion, but see Africa through the lens of faith, the lens of believing that Africa is going to win, or Africa is about to win. And I think once you start doing that, it will help your doer. Remember we talked about your dreamer and your doer? Faith helps your doer. Hope helps your dreamer. Faith helps your doer. Faith keeps you accountable. Faith keeps you accountable to the things that you are declaring and putting in place. And there is just something, and I know we think that, I come from the Christian world, and we think that it's just, God just answers prayer to those who are Christian. No, I believe that anybody that has faith to believe for something amazing to happen in their life, for some reason, God just, it's a principle. Faith is a principle. And I'm not talking about, salvation and whatnot. And for those Christians who want to be like, he's saying that we don't, people don't need God. No, I think people need God. But people need God for salvation. People need God because hell is real. Oh my gosh, am I preaching the gospel? Hell is real. People need God. But for you to get to a better place in your life, you need faith. And faith is a principle that God uses to bless whoever. I'm telling you, one of the key things, you hear about every rich person has read Think and Grow Rich, right? Every single rich person has read that book. I've read that book countless times. Ever since the last 10 years, I've been reading it. Think and Grow Rich. And I know it's weird 21st century language and whatnot, but it's really talking about faith and declaring things as though they are. That's faith. Declaring that Africa is on the rise, that's faith. Declaring that something is about to happen, that's faith. Declaring that my business will succeed, that's faith. And it's a principle that God honors. All right? So stop believing again. Stop believing again. Africa, stop believing again. Stop believing that it's possible. And it takes you to another place of challenging you to do something about it. Faith is not lazy. Faith is not lazy. Yeah. Faith comes with a responsibility. It comes with a responsibility to say, hey, I am going to be the answer to this issue. I'm going to say it again. I might be repeating myself. But if you're going to understand anything in this episode, you need to understand. Let's get out of the hope zone. Let's enter into faith. Believing that it is possible for Africa to prosper. It is possible for Africa to do well. And that statement within itself carries a responsibility for you and I who have come to that place to say, hey, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? So yeah, it's possible. I want to talk to my community, my ImagineX community. I want you to believe that for your business. I want you to believe that for your organization. I want you to believe that for your own life. Believe that from today on, I'm not just going to see Africa. I'm not just going to see my country, whether it's Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Nigeria, Botswana, whatever. I'm not going to see my country through the lens of just hope that keeps me stuck in a place of laziness. I'm going to see my country through the lens of faith. I'm not just going to see my business through the lens of hope or maybe one day, but I am going to see my business through the lens of faith that something is about to happen. I'm believing that something is about to happen, and it takes a hold of you to say, hey, this is a responsibility now. You need to start doing. You need to start working. You need to start executing whatever plans that you've been holding off. I hope this has stirred faith in you, and I will be doing that the reason why I talk like this, is because I want to stir faith in you to believe for your business, to believe for your family, to believe for your own life that things are going to turn around, that things are going to go better, things are going to shift, that things are going to change for you and your family and your business and your organization and your project, whatever that you're working on, and your own country as well. So yeah, Africa through the lens of faith. I hope that helped somebody today. I hope that stirred your faith and got you up and got you thinking. I really hope it did. And I hope we can continue to share this journey together. If you are part of the ImagineX community, we've got our event coming up this week. Please come and join us. I think I'll be sharing on self-leadership. If you're part of the diaspora, again, click the link in the description. I've got a form for you to fill out, just an interest form to see whether or not it will be feasible to do a community, to have a community of people in the diaspora around the world, where we can come together, share ideas, and not just share ideas, because I'm all about doing. I'm all about action. I'm all about get together with other doers. I would say that. Dreamers and doers, and actually see what we can do for our continent, and kind of brainstorm and see what we can do. So yeah, there's an interest form that I want you to fill. Please do fill that form. I want to see how many people are interested so that we can get this community up and running. It took a while for us to build our ImagineX Tanzania community. So for me to really invest into building this for you, I need some interest happening before I can do that. So yeah, fill in the form. And for my international friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I might have a form for you as well, just to see, what, maybe join our newsletter and see how you can be a part of what's happening in our nation, and part of raising entrepreneurs all across Africa, to see change happen. And it's the thing about Africa is that we're very hospitable. And the success of Africa will not end in Africa. I think the rest of the world is absolutely going to benefit very well from the success of Africa. So keeping our international friends close is a very, very key thing for me, from our point of view at least. So yeah, that is pretty much all for our episode today. And I hope that you learned something from it, and we'll see you on the next episode. But I'll end it like this, and I'll ask you a question. Are you a dreamer? Are you a doer? Or maybe you may have to consider doing both.